Hello there, world of tankers, and welcome to the channel. I'm your host, Droodles Blitz, and in today's video, I will be showcasing how to play the MAUS. This is a very tricky vehicle to drive. On paper, it looks simple. You got 3,000 plus hit points, you got solid DPM, and good damage per shot. And when you combine all those things together, you're like, oh, well then, what's the problem with the MAUS? In reality, it's really tricky to drive due to the slow nature. It has no mobility. Its armor is only good when you effectively angle it, and the gun is very inaccurate with poor levels of penetration. So the MAUS has some great characteristics, and it can carry a game. But if you don't put it properly in the right position or know what you're doing, the chances of winning that game are drastically decreased. In today's video, I'm going to be showcasing a MAUS guide like you've never seen before when it comes to the angling and, more importantly, provisions and equipment loadout. I guarantee you have never seen somebody equip their MAUS like mine today. So let's get right into the equipment. We are running improved modules and enhanced tracks. You can look at any tier 10 in my garage, and I'm always going to be running defense system and toolbox. The reason why is defense system gives you better overall durability on your modules. It has a better chance of your crew not being splattered all over the walls, and toolbox gives you 20% better module repair speed, meaning that if you get tracked, it's getting repaired faster. However, for the MAUS, we are running improved modules and enhanced tracks. And improved modules gives us 20% more track durability and 40% less damage when rammed. Now, the ramming damage doesn't really matter. I wish it was plus 40% to the enemy, but it doesn't matter for the MAUS because obviously, unless we're getting rammed by another MAUS, we're not going to be taking any damage. The major thing we want here is that 20% track durability. This is a vehicle that you don't want to get tracked in, especially when you have a lot of people shooting at you. Getting tracked is going to stop you from turning. Even if you have repair kits, it just stops you from being able to shoot at your opponents. And the second thing you want is enhanced tracks, which makes the tracks more durable and withstand even more damage. Also, if you have a damaged track, it automatically repairs it to full. So what that means is essentially you never have the yellow track in your hotbar, doesn't have a chance of breaking easily. These two things are going to make your tracks way more durable and just super resistant against any shells being fired. To make up for the missing crew durability and injury on our ammo rack and everything like that, in provisions, I am running a protective kit, which, as we can read, gives me protection on crew injuries. It also gives us 10% module repair speed. This is huge. Toolbox gives you a 20%, which is the equipment that we aren't running. So running Protective Kit gives us a little bit of toolbox while also giving us defense system with 20% to fire protection, ammo rack, and fuel tank durability. It just gives you buffs on overall your entire tank's durability, which is huge. And then we're running sandbags to give us even more health and chocolate to give us more damage per minute, mobility, and overall capabilities. So our MAUS is fully kitted out at this point, but there's one final thing that we want to talk about, and that is the armor. This vehicle is quite heavily armored, and even though it does have some weaknesses, I'm going to showcase how to perfectly angle the MAUS. So what are the weaknesses you have on the vehicle? You have the turret cheeks and the lower plate. Now the lower plate's easy. All you need to do is angle the vehicle, and once you've angled it at a certain amount, it's usually around a 30-degree angle. The lower plate is now going to be super hard to pen. Now, if you have enough heat, you can still cut through, but you'll notice that you really don't have a choice. I mean, once you over-angle it too much, people are going to cut through your sides. Usually try to focus more on the lower plate as a weak spot than the sides, because it's way easier to hit this than it is to hit this. So that is something to keep in mind. But really, the armor that you're going to try and hide is the turret cheeks. You can see how weak they are and how strong they become when you angle it properly. There's a very easy trick to angling the MAUS's turret cheeks. See these two little bars on the back that my mouse cursor is on? Well, if you simply angle the turret to the edge of that bar, so we can see I'm lining up the flat surface here with this bar. If we take a look at the front of the vehicle now on a flat angle, it's perfectly angled. This part is around 314, and this will be a bit stronger at 330. So if we just turn it, a slight bit like this, now this is 316 and this is 330. You can see how well that is angled. And if you want to do it on the other side, then just swap it over here, line it up with this side, right on this bar, And now if we take a look at the mouse turret again and we get perfectly flat with the vehicle, 311, 330 against heat, we can see 340 and 360. It's very close on the effective angling, and it's something that you don't really need to think about. We can see these two bars right on the back of the vehicle here and here as well. Being totally honest, the mouse has a lot of downsides versus the upsides. The upsides are you have 3,000 health, you have decent DPM, high alpha of 460, and you have a lot of armor to distract people with. The downsides are that you're slow. You only go 25. Your traverse speed is terrible, and while your armor is good, it's only good against really standard ammunition. The moment people start firing premium ammo, your vehicle's armor starts to fall apart. So it does have capabilities. I'm not going to sit here and say that the mouse is a terrible tank, because it has a lot of armor, it has a lot of HP, and it has surprisingly good DPM. But it also has really bad mobility. And we can see in a game like this, the enemy team has already lost basically 2 full health vehicles. I haven't even gotten 20% of my way to the enemy front line. And we can already see that one of my teammates is dying. So, yeah, we're not getting all too much out. In the mouse, you want to try and just get as quickly as you can towards the enemy. So we can see the enemy FOSS shot, and bruh, we didn't even get a shell out. Now we have the U-100 aiming in on us. We also got shot by something else. Not even sure what that is. VK-90. Well, he was able to cut through our turret armor. But this is a good example of literally us just driving and not able to do anything from start to finish of this game. And now what we can see is I have 0 support from my team. So if I get rushed here, I'm dead. We have the grill at least, but, like, it's not great. This is not a great situation for us at all. So we're just going to try and push up and cause some distractions here. We have the enemy boss Chatillon, and we get a nice 457 damage shell out. And this is where the mouse finally comes into play. We are a blockade. We have a lot of health, and we have a lot of just holding power. And it makes it very hard for the enemy team to really do anything to us, because we can just chill here, and what are they going to do? I mean, we got the VK-90, and I don't really care what the VK-90 does. Oh, there's the Chieftain trying to show me his lower plate, and there you go. We got a 535. Good example of the alpha damage. We have the grill behind me, so really the only thing I'm worried about right now is the boss Chatillon, but I'm not too worried to a point in me being, like, petrified. I'm just being cautious. That's really the best way to word it. So we have the Chieftain again, and there you go. Nice hatching shell into his tank. And we're starting to get out good bleeds. I mean, that Chieftain doesn't want to fight us anymore. The Bat Chat is spotted, which is obviously pretty important. We're going to move up ourselves, and there you go. Chieftain bounces me again. Pretty good stuff. We're now going to... Oh, we're going to get penned by the BK-90. Well, didn't actually expect him to pen me there, but it doesn't really matter. We're going to get a nice shell right back at him. And now we can see the enemy boss Chatillon is trying to maneuver. So what we're going to do is we're going to back up to a point where this Bat Chat can't really do much. We're going to get a nice shell. STB unfortunately misses. However, the Bat Chat is not enjoying life all too much. Oh, he's going to try and shoot us. Okay. Well, let's turn our turret then, and let's see if we can hit the Bat Chat. Nope. Mouse gun is truly incredible. Yeah, the mouse gun sucks. I will tell you that for a fact. It is one of the least accurate guns that you will find. Unfortunately for me, you want accuracy when driving a tier 10. So, we don't really have much support here in terms of our STB. This Bat Chat needs to die. Like, that's the major threat here. The problem is, nobody on our team's going to do anything about him. So I'm going to have to be the one that gets the clear. So I guess we'll just have to keep waiting here for now. I mean, come on, Grill. Please, please kill the Bat Chat. Bro. Alright, IS-4 might get him. Let's see. What? I know he didn't leave. Yeah, there he is. Alright, let's see. Let's see if our IS-4 gets the clear. Come on, bro. Kill the Bat, please. Please kill the boss Chatillon, I beg of you. There you go. Man, that was really sussler. I mean, you might wonder why I spent so much time worrying about the Bat Chat, and it's pretty easy to understand. It's the fact that it has 1,050 damage in a matter of, 3 seconds. If I start turning towards the Chieftain and these players in front of me, there's no way I'm going to be able to also angle towards the Batchat and deal with that tank as well. It's just not a possibility. So the best play to make is to just hold in this tank and wait for your team. Now, if you're in a situation where your team's not there, then yeah, you're probably screwed. But at the end of the day, you have to rely on your team at least a little bit. So we're going to aim it on the Chieftain. We get a nice clear into his tank. And now all we have left is a VK90 and an E100. VK90 is going to try and make his way over to my, well, it's not great for my team, but we're doing fine. We got a tracking shell into the E100 because my gun decides to not work. However, we're just going to push the E100 here. We're going to give him a nice little ram, and then we're going to pen him in the side for 490, which is going to make the STB have him as a clear. Now we're going to turn towards the enemy VK90, and I really don't care too much about him. He knows that he's in a rather awkward situation due to the STB getting on his side. So this was a really, really tricky game, and it was a great example of how to drive the MAUS. We did over 3,000 damage, we won, we held, and it's a good example of where angling might not be as important. This game was basically us holding the enemy. We made sure they could not push past our spawn, giving our grill and the tanks that were sitting in the medium flank the ability to cover. Now that STB should have killed the Batchat. I'll say that right now. If he had killed that Batchat, the game would have been much easier to win. He focused more on going for damage rather than getting the important clear on that bat. If that IS-4 didn't push the boss Chatillon out, we actually probably would have lost that game, because I would have been stuck in a situation where I have a tank behind me, and I have two tanks in front of me, and I can't do anything, because if I try to deal with the tanks in front of me, obviously you don't want tanks on your rear, especially auto-loading light tanks that have the ability to completely bleed your hit points. So that's something you're always going to want to keep in mind. Now the next two games we're going to be taking a look at are replays. Now they are not old replays, they're not super high damage replays. These are games that I've just played within the last 20 minutes, 30 minutes of Blitz. I wanted to put in quite a few games on the MAUS to showcase that it can do really well. And out of the 10 games I've played today, we're sitting at an 80% win rate with 3,530 average damage, which is pretty good. So I figured it would be a lot better to play some games and showcase some battles where the MAUS definitely feels a bit weird and awkward compared to its normal gameplay. Now we can already see a great example of the MAUS gun just being kind of trash. We had a flat side to the 100 there, we even loaded gold, and our shell just did not go anywhere we wanted it to, which is really, really unfortunate. Now in this situation, I've realized, okay, well, I can't do anything on this side of the map because the E100's all the way in the back spawn. There's no point to sit there and shoot the E100. So I decided, alright, fine, I'm going to go to mid-hill. Now you might be asking why I didn't go mid-hill to begin with, and it's because you're going to see why. The MAUS features terrible turret cheeks, and especially on the hill, because if you look at the way the hill's designed, it's at an angle of probably about 15 degrees upward. The problem is, at this angle here, you're looking down on the turret, and it means that the armor is way less effective. So even though I get a bounce here, which is really, really nice and everything, and I'm going to shoot at the Kampfpanzer, we get hit by the 183, and we get hit by the grill. And we just went from 3,000 health to 1,400. That shows you just how quickly the MAUS's armor falls apart. And then we got shot again in the turret by the WZ, the roof of the turret. So we went from full health, and all three tank destroyers hit me and brought me down to 800. Tank destroyers are the crux of heavies. They have ridiculous amounts of pen. After the refined gun changes, they don't miss, and in a vehicle like a MAUS, they are always going to focus you. And because of that, it is something you are going to have to keep in mind. But just because we bled a lot of health does not mean we are out of the game. All it has done is shown me that, gee, maybe I shouldn't have made that play. But I'm glad I did, because it showcases why you cannot play over-aggressive in your MAUS. If you think for a second that, oh, I'm full health and I have 3,000 HP, I can get away with making this aggressive play, think twice. Look at the enemy lineup and see what they have on their team, because if they have a 183, technically, if it shoots you, now you only have 2,000 health. That's the same as a medium. Now you've gone from having a big advantage of the enemy tank you're fighting to a big disadvantage. Now the C-100 here is aiming at me, and I specifically made it so that he'd bounce off my side because he didn't know what he was aiming at. We can see the 183 in the back. I don't want to poke and get shot by the 183. I have 800 health, which for the majority of tanks would be still enough to survive, but 183 is not one of those tanks I'm willing to take that risk with. I see the enemy BZ-75 is making an over-aggression. Right now, we have the advantage of base cap. Our team is not good. I will fully admit that. But what our team is doing is sitting in the base and taking advantage of the fact that the enemy has to drive out in the open. And that's what you want to do sometimes in the MAUS. As I mentioned, this is a really good holding tank. There's only two things you're either doing in the MAUS. It's holding or pushing. And most of the time it's holding. So this game, we've already been able to whip up 2,460 damage, even though we started off quite terrible. We're going to get a nice snap into the roof of that 4202, and there you go. We're now up to 3,000 damage dealt. So this was a terrible game to start with. Like, we had everything stacked against us, but because our team was able to hold in the base, it forced the enemy to start playing over-aggressive. And the moment they thought they could get away with over-aggressions is when they started to bleed. Imagine if I'd saved my health towards the end of this game. Now, I honestly didn't care if that WZ had shot me, because I knew that I had enough health to take the shot, and right now I just need to stop the enemy from getting into our base cap. We're at 80 on the base cap already, and this is basically a guaranteed win. I'm actually a bit sad that our Yag capped the entire base because they have an AFK grill, which you're going to see right after we clear the enemy WZ. So we're going to climb up this hill here. There's the WZ. We load in an HE, finish off his tank. And you're going to notice the moment we crest this ridge, an AFK grill 15 gets spotted with full health. Really sad. Definitely would have been able to deal upwards of maybe 4,500, maybe even more damage this game if we had been able to shoot that player. But this is still a great example of why you don't want to over-aggress with your MAUS. We blocked a lot. We blocked 2,000 damage that game. But we also bled a lot. And we bled a lot super early on. Playing the game smart, playing it a little more passive, allowed us to do what this tank is good at. And it shows you just a great example of where the MAUS can be played good, and it can be played bad. Now, this game here is going to show you another great example of how to play the MAUS. You're going to notice that the gun on this tank is absolute trash bag awful. Like, I miss multiple easy shots in this vehicle that I shouldn't have, and definitely made me want to, like, smash my face into my keyboard. But we kept playing, we kept going, and we ended up doing pretty good even with the result and circumstances that we were placed in. So we can see the Caro, we can see the FE2 and 5P183, and the Chieftain. So we already have a good idea of where the enemy team's going, especially with the Caro over here. They only have one medium, and as I've said, mediums are the big threat that we want to clear. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start off by aiming in right where that Caro was, and we're going to take a blind shot. I did not see that shell hit anything, so my guess is that we did at least hit the Caro. We'll have to see if we ended up penning him later. We have the 183 right in front of us. I put on my adrenaline because I thought he was going to poke, and I'm not going to lose 900 health for nothing, but we actually get a nice shot into the 183 for 470, and you'll notice that the bottom corner of our screen said damage dealt 958. So indeed, we did hit our blind shot on the Caro, which we can see spotted right now. So the 183 has backed up. He's in an awkward position. We have the Chieftain in front of us, and Chieftain doesn't want to poke, so I'm just going to pretend like I'm driving up. This Chieftain's thinking, oh, I'm going to be able to get away, and we get a nice shot into his vehicle for 450. Alright, that's pretty good. We've dealt over 1,400 damage now, and you'll notice that there's a Yag on my side. I don't care. I don't care if that Yag shoots me for 800, because right now, all I'm trying to do is clear this 183. The 183 is obviously just a rat tank. I don't want to deal with it. I don't want it to sit there and have the ability to shoot me. So even though this Yag was able to get a 900 damage tungsten shell into my flat side, we still have 1,740 health left. This is a great example of where I don't mind using my health to make plays. You can see we're not even really angling. You know, people are always like, oh, you angle in the MAUS, and you do, don't get me wrong, but you don't really angle that much. Another great example of the MAUS gun there, missing an easy shot. This gun really just makes you hate life sometimes. It really does. Like, yeah, it's pain. But thankfully, you have enough health and you have enough armor that the gun isn't the most important thing. We aim it on the Kron. Man, bro, man. This is where refined gun, I don't like it. You know, everybody's like, oh, refined gun's the best thing ever. And don't get me wrong, it has its advantages, but definitely not in the last two shots we fired there. But we do get a nice shell into the Yag. We're still up to 2,300 damage. I mean, the alpha damage on this tank is nice, and it does mean that you're able to get some good shots out. The Conf Panzer is being rushed by the Yag, and that's not really my problem. We have the Chieftain all the way in the back, and I was kind of hoping the Chieftain would make a play. However, it doesn't look like he's going to. I do find it quite funny that next update, Wargaming is nerfing the accuracy on the mouse once again, and they're buffing its DPM again. I mean, you can see the accuracy. The tank doesn't need DPM. It needs the ability to hit its shots. Now, we do get our driver killed, but thankfully we have our repair kit back right away, so not too big of a deal. We're going to back up. Chieftain bounces me, and we get a nice 450 damage straight into its turret. So just like that, we are now up to 2,800 damage. It's been a slow battle, but it has been a decent game. And we still have 1,000 health left. I mean, that's still a third of our overall HP that we're sitting at here. So now we're going to try and get the clear into the enemy Kron and keep on moving up. So where is this Kron? Well, he's right in front of us. We're going to get an HE into his rear for 484, and he's cleared. Chieftain was looking at me and then said, oh, there's a Hori, and he's dead. So all that's left now is the enemy Minorato. So we are just going to push and see if we can get any damage into the Minnow. Even if he ends up killing me, who cares? My team's going to win the game anyway. That's the whole point of the mouse. So the Minnow pokes. We get a nice premium shell to the side of his tank. Bit of a low roll, but doesn't really matter too much to me. We try angling, and you can see even angling the vehicle, the armor just doesn't really work, but I could care less. At this point, we are going to win. And the Hori gets the clear. We only missed out on 59 damage as it is, so I can't really get all too sad. These were great games to showcase the mouse and how even in very tricky situations, you can win. We did 3,800 damage this game, we blocked 1,120, and we ended up coming out with a victory. The mouse is a great tank for a couple reasons. The first is pushing. You scare people when you push. And you can see that 80% win rate solo in tier 10 is pretty impressive. You know, even the damage aside, just winning that much in tier 10 is impressive, especially for a super heavy. I play the mouse very different from the average player. If you watch somebody like Fatness play the mouse, they're usually pretty passive early game, and then he'll push up a little bit later. I play the mouse very aggressive the whole game as long as I know I can, because it forces the enemy to shoot at me, and it gives my team more opportunities to bleed and push. And it's why I'm able to usually get damage out while also getting wins in this tank. So the mouse is not an easy tank to drive, but it's definitely a vehicle that if you know what you're doing, can do very well. Let me know in the comments what you guys think. If you enjoyed today's video, please consider smashing that subscribe button down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye-bye.